Mine says live preparing. Oh,
Mine says live on Facebook. It says now it's streaming.
Yeah, man, say live on Facebook.
Are we
okay, you are ready.
okay? Hi, my name is Julie Anderson. I'm the outreach director at Restore Justice. I became involved in this work because my son Eric is currently incarcerated. He received life without parole when he was 15 years old. In 2017, he was resentenced to a term of 30 years. He has been incarcerated for 26 years with 4 years to go. And I know firsthand the fear of having a loved one in prison during the COVID pandemic. At RJ, Restore Justice, we understand and acknowledge that people in prison are particularly vulnerable to COVID. People in prison often live with complex medical needs that place them at a higher risk of serious complications from COVID 19. Coupled with the lack of healthcare services in prisons, as, as we've seen throughout the pandemic, their conditions are often unsanitary and crowded with little or no access to safer outdoor spaces. In addition to directly impacting those in prison, COVID has also had a tremendous impact on those with loved ones in prison. It has created additional fear and disrupted already limited communications. It has also led to the suspension of in person visiting for more than a year. Our hope is that this dialogue will shed light on how COVID 19 has impacted and continues to impact people in prison and their loved ones on the outside. I would like to introduce Esther Clark. Esther, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, my name is Esther Clark, and I am Javelle Ivory's mother and Darnell Fox's auntie. I have both of them in prison. They've been locked up since they were teenage, and they got a chance to also get resentencing. And during this COVID, it's just really messed them up because both of them have had COVID since they've been in prison. And Darnell was telling me that as they began to get that COVID in their prison, they were subject to the guards just uh, ganging up and talking, not respecting the social distancing or wearing a mask, and that it just went through that prison like wildfire, and everybody was having it. Well, after that, and they finally changed them around. As the people start to get it, they start to put them in different areas, but it has spread it so bad that even when they put them in the areas, the people in the areas had it too, because it was just going around, as the guards come in and out and the people coming in and out, food services and all that, it just spread it like wildfire. And Javelle also said that in his prison, it was spreading real bad too. And then finally he realized they didn't tell them anything. They just started taking them and from cell to cell and moving people from cell to cell, not knowing what was going on with them, but they knew that people were getting sick. And then as they found out that it was the COVID, then they'll just move them away to another area, but still not saying anything or giving them any type of medication or anything for it. They just had to suffer through it. So it was really a bad situation, the COVID. So we just had to suffer with it, or they had to suffer, and I had to listen.
So, Esther, Javel is your son,
Yes,
right? And Darnell is your nephew.
right.
So, with having Javel in prison with COVID, when did you first get really concerned about it? When did you hear and think, oh my gosh, my son's in prison?
Well, once I knew about the COVID and it started circulating around here, I automatically knew that they would be having it too, because their situation in the prison is not like us. Oh, you get a cold, you go take a medicine, or something. You take something for the flu. not for them, they have to wait and until its situation gets just astronomical before they really respond and do something. So speaking back and forth to them, they both were really scared in there because they kept saying, I don't want to die in here, and that's what it is. And without any treatment or something, that that's the end product. And they were both just so fearful for each other and for me also, for everybody, because it was going around so bad. And for them, both of the prison situations were really bad during this COVID stuff till toward the end when they finally gave them some stuff to clean the rooms or spray around. It took forever for them to even do that. And they were even getting donations and stuff, other stuff, but they wasn't passing it out in the prison. So it took a long time before, they could even try to do something themselves to try to fight it off. They had no medication or anything. They just had it was like the flu, the real bad flu. So as I talked to them back and forth, each one had got it. So I just tried to tell them, try to just drink a lot of vitamin C, try to get vitamin C in. That's the best thing. So that's all they could do.
Prior to COVID, what did it look like with communications with Javel and Darnell?
Oh,
were you able to visit in person?
Well, before the COVID, I could visit. I could go down there and visit. I sometimes, going to these different prisons, you have different situations. And if your clothes ain't right, or if you got too much jewelry, or it's always a little something that you run into. But other than that, I could go and visit them and, stay long as I want to stay, pretty much, because I travel so far for them. But the jail stay, getting in there and getting out sometimes could be a little awkward.
Yeah. So these were
the guards
visits. When you visited, they were full contact visits. Were you able to hug your son?
Yeah, we sit there and talk and play cards and all that. We could really have a good visit for whatever it is. Your butt get tired of sitting on them little hard seats, but that's your loved one and you want them, and you look forward to that hug after you visit them, and you look forward to that hug when you see them. So yeah, we had full contact, so that was good.
So how long has Javel been incarcerated?
Javel has been gone 20, I think they both have been gone 24 years now.
24 years. So you think visiting him in person, was that important to him and to you?
Oh yeah, because we look forward to it, because it was like our Christmas. I could come and buy them whatever out the machines, what they want, and they can have whatever they want while we visit and talk and stuff. So yeah, it was like a holiday when we go there. It was like a holiday. Yeah.
Instead of trying to feel normal, having a sandwich pop with your son. It's important.
Yeah, overpriced, but it's what it is.
Expensive. That's another conversation. So how did the DOC impact your communication or visitation with Javel and Darnell?
Well, it affected my visitation because there was no visiting, and it affected us even with our phone visits, because they had cut the video visits down, and they cut down the phone visits, the time that you can talk.
Right.
So it sort of made it really awkward for us, because I have both of them. So we trying to juggle, trying to talk whatever time we have and get everything in, which we also use the to be able to text, do the little email back and forth too. So that helped out some, but there were times when I didn't hear from them that really had me scared, because I don't know if they got words or I just didn't know. So it sort of drove me a little crazy, but I'd call down to that prison and I'd tell them, I need to know, how my son doing, what's going on, and they ain't really had no information. Well, he's fine and you'll have to call and talk to the counselor or whatever, so okay, and good luck with trying to catch them.
Yeah, so you went for extended periods without being able to hear from him. That had to be
Oh,
pretty scary.
yes, I did. I went from without hearing from both of them because I don't know if it was that they were moving them around. Well, Danielle would tell me, and Javelle would too, after I finally get back to talk to them, that they had moved them and that wing had COVID real bad or whatever, and it just drives you crazy when you can't hear from your loved one.
And um, Darnell he's your nephew.
Yeah,
And which facility is he in?
he's in
Same one.
Graham.
Graham.
I
Okay.
think he's in Graham
And Javal is your son. And where is he at?
Hill.
Hill. So they're in different ones. Did you find that? So you have the comparison of two different facilities, but two facilities that are both rated as a medium,
Mhm.
correct? And they're both in Illinois. Did
Yeah.
the different facilities handle COVID differently at all as far as isolation or phone calls or anything like that?
Well, it seemed that technically they both did sort of the same things, you know. Well, when they were moving them, you just didn't communicate. You know, you wait till they get them where they at, and as soon as they get them where they at, they would contact me. Darnell, he would mostly email me. Where Javale, he would email me some too, but he was mostly have a little more freedom than Darnell, so he would get a chance to call me more often than Darnell. Because I don't understand that if they medium prisons, how does one do something different than the other if they medium? I don't understand that, but it's different for both of them.
Yeah, I found that. Did either of them express concerns about not being able to visit or not being able to get the phones?
Oh yeah, they both were upset about it because I think it was Darnell who some of their phones was broken or something and they couldn't get the phones, and you know how people are trying to get to the phones, and it just was a mess. It was a mess. But he would get the message, you know, he'll get the message through to me because he'll mostly do the email. When he can't get the call, he'll email me. So
So was Javal able to talk to you? Did he tell you about what was happening in regards to testing?
oh
And
yeah.
what was happening when people were getting sick?
Yeah. Well, you know, they had gotten sick and they had it really bad in there before they even started the test. They didn't start the test until way later. You know, after that, I think I'm almost sure that both of them had it and had almost gotten over it before they started the testing. Then they started the testing and they started testing them. I think Donnell said every week. I think it's every week they were testing. And for Javale, I think they may have been testing, it still was way later after they got over it. Then they were testing them. I think it was once a week, if I remember correctly.
Now, you said that they both had it. Were they
Yeah.
tested? Did they test positive? Or
Yes.
so, and when did they test them? What did that look like? Were they very ill and then they asked to be tested, or?
No, I think they just came and did a mass testing. I know they did a mass testing for Darnell now. And I'm almost sure they did a mass testing for Javale and them too. But when they tested them and they found out they had COVID, they still didn't tell them. They just started moving them. They started moving them around. Both of them said that. They just started moving them around. And that's how they found out that who had it and who didn't, depending on who they was moving.
So when they tested positive, they didn't inform them. They just put them in a quarantine.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Because I was scared because I didn't hear from them then. I really got scared after I found out that they had it. And then I didn't hear from them for a minute. And then Darnell sent me an email. That's how I knew, you know, he was telling me that he had COVID and they had tested him and he was positive and they moved him. So he didn't have access to the phone.
That's really scary.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know as a mom, I went for a period, I didn't hear from my son Eric for 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was in the hospital. I didn't know if he wasn't sick. It's just very
It's
scary.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But I called the prison. But they still didn't give me no information out. You know, they were like, well, he should be contacting you soon. I'm like, okay. Well,
So did they give you any kind of the prison? Did they give you any kind of, or Javel or Darnell, any kind of health care steps that they should be following once they were sick?
no,
Make
they
any
just isolate them. They just isolate them. Because I was asking, did they give you some medicine? What did they do? How do your chest feel? What do you feel like? And Darnell, who is a person who exercises a lot, well, they both exercise a lot. And he was like, I knew something was wrong with me because my cellies 2 doors over, they had it bad. You could hear the coughing and stuff, he said. But for me, I felt heavy in my chest. He said, when I exercised, I kept feeling heavy in my chest. So I know something was wrong. And then finally they came around and tested everybody on that wing and I had COVID. He said, but I could tell I had it by the way I was feeling. I'm like, yeah. He said, it felt like a bad flu.
That's scary. Do you feel like the IDOC really properly handled COVID
No,
prisons?
no, I don't.
No.
No, I don't because I think when they knew about COVID, they should have started mass testing these people to see, and then if they need to isolate them. Then if they needed medication, get some medication to them. They can't do nothing. They stuck there. So it's like a kid. You got to take care of them.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't really mitigate any of the risks. Has either of them shared, you mentioned briefly in the beginning that correctional officers were congregating. Have either of them shared that regarding masks, like when they were given masks and were correctional officers wearing the masks? Or
Well, Darnell was telling me that they gave a mask. Javelle said they gave a mask too, and eventually they gave them the cleaning stuff before Darnell and them got it. They gave Javelle and them some spray to spray around and clean they cells with or whatever. But Darnell they didn't get it till way later. And the mask, I think Javelle and them got the mask before Darnell and them did, if I remember correctly. But they were told that they have to wear the mask, all the time when they moving around or whatever. And Darnell was upset because I had to calm him down that we have to wear our mask and we don't go nowhere. But they giving us COVID. But they don't have to wear masks and they congregating, talking and doing what they do, getting close and talking and stuff. But us, if we come out without our mask, they want to give us a ticket. I'm like, yeah. That's how
so
it is.
the staff is, do you think that, like Javelle would say, that the staff hasn't really taken COVID very seriously and they are not wearing their masks correctly?
Well, I think that was back then when they
Yeah.
it first came around and the mask and all that they were supposed to wear masks same as them. That was Darnell who was saying that they weren't wearing a mask and they was congregating a lot. And as far as he was concerned, he felt like that if he had to wear the mask, they definitely should wear it because they the ones going in and out. They've been in that prison all these years. They couldn't bring no COVID. So it had to come in from the guards or from the people that's going in and out.
Definitely. Do you, so I know they didn't start mass testing till December. When did they get diagnosed with COVID? Was it in December or?
Oh, I don't know, but I know I have a email probably, but I'm not exactly sure when they contracted it, but I think Donnell sent me an email when he got it.
Yeah, okay.
I
'Cause,
think so. It's, what is this? It had to be like November, December.
okay, because they did start mass testing. One of the things, because the IDOC was very slow to react to handing out,
Yes,
very slow with testing. Do you feel that Restore Justice and other organizations um, played a role
definitely.
and helped get some of that done?
Definitely I do. Because without you guys really getting in it and putting it out there, they wasn't gonna do too much. I don't think they were gonna do too much. Mm-mm. Because for one, the way Darnell talked about it, it's like it's a joke or something. They really not taking it seriously. So he was definitely taking it seriously because he know that they were all stuck in there, and they couldn't do nothing. But he was saying the guards, they think it's some kind of funny little joke. They walking around here like it's okay. He's like, but I put my mask on and I keep it on. I told him keep it on too, because that's where it's coming from. It got to come from outside.
Did you hear anything about, you talk about sanitation? Were they doing any kind of spray down between phone calls? Because I know people share the phone, so.
Yeah. Not that I know of. I think that they were allowing them to have some kind of little disinfectant stuff, and that's something they had to do on their own, because I know that when they started cleaning stuff, they let Darnell help with the cleaning. So they were cleaning, the areas, but most of the inmates were helping with that, wiping down the phones, the tables, whatever. They were doing that.
Yeah, but not in between each use, which is in the beginning.
Probably not.
Was kind of,
Probably not.
no, yeah. So they limited visiting immediately. They went on
Mhm.
full lockdown, the state, March 13th of 2020. How about yard? Now, did they limit their outside yard time?
They didn't have any yard time.
No
They
yard.
didn't have any yard time. No, that's another thing that they were talking about. They took away weights and stuff, and they didn't get to get yard time. They
And
didn't
have they
get to.
gotten weights back? Have they gotten their weights in the
No,
basketballs and gym equipment?
none of that yet. I
Yeah,
guess they're waiting for it to open up some more. No, for them to open it up so that they can. Yeah, but no.
the yard time is still limited.
Oh yeah. Well, Darnell said they too, on their day, they get a 90 minutes. I think it's 90 minutes, and they get to go to the day room. But they went outside. They went outside one day last week, but they still didn't have no weights and nothing like that. But they did get to go outside.
One day a week.
Yeah.
How about commissary? Was that limited, do you think? Were they able
Oh,
to stop?
well, as far as I know, Javel's commissary was fine. But Darnell's commissary, by them moving them around and all of that stuff, their commissary got messed up. Darnell went, I think he went 3 weeks or 4 weeks without going to commissary, because they moved him around, and then they threw his rhythm off for his commissary. So he let's see, about 3 weeks ago, he was waiting to go, and he finally went last week, I think it was last week. And that was like 3 going on 4 weeks.
And commissary is, it's the store in prison, for those who don't know.
Mhm.
And actually, I believe that they buy personal hygiene items
Yes.
at commissary, which would include very small bars of soap that they're limited how many they can buy,
Yep.
and deodorant and toothpaste and things like that. So they limited that,
Mhm.
and it sounds like they may still are. I wanted to touch base on something that happened at Hill a few weeks ago. I had heard that the Orange Crush, which is the super security, it's like a paramilitary group that comes in and does cell shakedowns, for lack of a better word. They searched
Yes.
everyone's cell. Was Javel's cell searched, and did he lose any property?
Well, wasn't it at, I heard that they had came through Graham. I gotta get
They
it
went
right
to
because
Hill.
they came through Graham, I believe. That's where Darnell is.
Okay,
And when they came through there, he said that they shook them all down and everything, and they didn't find anything in his cell or anything, but that they were just, throwing their stuff around and stuff. They don't care about your stuff. They just go through and make sure that you get only two soaps or whatever it is that the minimum is to keep, or you can get a ticket if you have more than you're supposed to have, or if you had the wrong stuff in there. But yeah, they came through and they did him. But that was Darnell. That wasn't JaVale. I think that was Darnell
okay.
that they came through there.
Yeah, I'd heard from some guys at Hill that they had come through there too. So,
Well, maybe they did. Mm-hmm.
and they were missing things.
Yeah.
So they've started some very limited visiting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Non-contact, no machines, 2-hour visits, behind plexiglass. Are you and Javel going to be visiting?
No.
No.
I'm not gonna go to either one because I'll have to drive too far. That's too far to drive, and I can't touch them. All we can do is sit behind some plexiglass and scream at each other, because you know how it is in prison. When you go in there, everybody's talking, so it gets rather loud. So I can just imagine trying to talk through some plexiglass, and then I wouldn't drive that far and not be able to touch my loved one. That's the most important part. And I can't even buy my ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh no, that is just wrong. And 2 hours? See,
Yeah.
I'll usually go and I'll drive and I'll visit them that day. Then I'll go back the next morning and visit again before I leave, because
Yeah.
that's too far to go to just turn around like that. So I just get a hotel and spend a night and go back the next day. But no, I won't be doing that. And then the video visits is cut down, so I won't be doing that either.
Yeah.
Because
Your video visits, Ben. I know that Eric and I was doing them, and it was frustrating, 15 minutes. And
yep.
we couldn't hear for the first 5 minutes, or he wasn't there, or how was the quality of your video visits that you're paying for?
Well, yeah. Well, I really don't know because I don't do them. My daughter-in-law does. She does them with JaVale, but me and Darnell, we don't do them because I don't like the idea that if I'm doing it with him and someone happens to walk by, then my visit is restricted.
Yeah, that's right.
See,
You can't have anyone in your screen, right?
no,
Yeah.
that's not okay through them to be on that visit. So I'd have to go in my room to do the visit, and nah, it's not that serious. I'd rather just talk to him on the phone.
Yeah, it's and it's $3.70.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah, it can be
It's cheaper.
expensive.
Yeah.
And they still haven't increased the time on those. If your daughter-in-law does them, has she said that they've added more than 15 minutes?
No.
Because prior to COVID, I believe you could get like a 45-minute call. It was 45 minutes or an hour that you could get. And when COVID hit, they restricted the calls, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, what are you and Javel really looking forward to when we can go post-pandemic world? Like, besides him maybe doing work release.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. What I'm looking forward to in the visit is to being able to go there and see them and sit there for my little 3-4 hours, whatever I feel like I want to stay, and being able to have our little picnic, because that's what we call our little picnic. We have our little picnic and together, and that's all we can do. We may be able to take a picture. Sometimes we're able to take a picture. So if we can get our picture and our little picnic, then I'm happy. That's my visit.
That's really good. Yeah, pictures are
Mm-hmm.
Had those either in a long time. They restricted them for so many years.
Yes.
I know.
They grew up in there. Your kids grew up in there, and missed all those years.
Yeah.
You can go back and look at your school pictures and say, oh, in kindergarten, he looked like this. Oh, and that he looked like that. But all those years in between, we've missed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's I think it was 20 or 22 years of no photos inside. So
mm-hmm.
and now we have a whole year and we have to wait for them to come back and do it. Well, I want to really thank you, Esther, for joining me today. Is there anything you'd want to add about being outside of prison and having your loved ones inside? Like, it's been a bad time. I think COVID is hard for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But this is when I think about people locked up, and I was thinking about last summer when it was over 90 degrees and they were locked up inside the cell and not getting any outside time, or it just breaks my heart. Is there anything you want to add to this?
Just having a loved one in prison is like you being in prison. You and your whole family is in prison, because my family and we all try to go and see them. We'll try to ride this one, go that time, this one, go that time. We try to get down there and at least see them, to get them a hug or something. But with a loved one locked up in prison, you're in prison, your family's in prison. You got to go by whatever they little rules are. You got to do everything that they say according to the letter that they say, which is not fair to prisoners all the time, what they say and what they do. So I feel like someone in prison is like, you're in prison, everything. You have no rights. You have no nothing. You don't need to, as a person coming to the prison. You got to dance by their music. You got to hold your hands when you got to hold your hands. You got to let them touch you the way they want to touch you and search you. It's violating. You are totally violated too. Just trying to get in there to see your loved one. But being able to see them and touch them and talk to them and hug them and hold them and buy them that food and just be there. It's cool when you're on the phone at home and stuff, but just to be there with them where they are, that's important. That is really important. And I'm looking forward to the visit, but I'm looking forward to an open visit where I can sit down with my children and just talk to them like we normally do and eat our little ice creams or whatever we're going to do, and let that be that until such time as they come home.
Well, the governor, I will say the one thing he did was he included inmates in early vaccinations. He included incarcerated individuals in the early vaccinations. Val and Darnell participate in a vaccination?
Oh yeah, they both got their vaccination. And that's the main thing that Darnell is screaming. Why is it that we got to do all this precautionary stuff if we all had our shots? Now, the CDC says that if you got your shots, both shots, and the other person has both of their shots, why is it that we can't sit down and talk together or be together in a room together if we both vaccinated?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I agree. My son Eric says the same thing. His main reason for getting vaccinated was so he could visit again.
Yes.
And I know the Department of Corrections has said things like, well, one of the things they said is we don't want to make a difference between vaccinated and non-vaccinated incarcerated individuals. But I would hazard to say that the Department of Corrections constantly makes differences with incarcerated individuals. That it depends on what your crime is, which prison you go to, what programs you can participate in. It depends on how long you have left. what
Mhm.
prisons you can go to, what programs you can participate in. It depends on your conduct record. So they're constantly dividing and making rules about what you can and can't do depending on your very particular circumstances. So
Mhm.
I would think vaccines would be one of them. I just want to ask real briefly, because we're on vaccines, is we had almost 70% of incarcerated individuals get a vaccination, but I think the correctional staff is something like 23%.
Mhm.
And do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, my main thought is if all these people get vaccinated and they're in one place all the time, why is it that you can come and go and you're not vaccinated? And you know what it can do. You know what can happen. So why aren't you being responsible enough to do that? You know, you got to come in and out of work. You got to go back and forth to your family too. So wouldn't you think that you need to be protected also?
Yeah, I definitely think that getting vaccinated says more about the people you care about than even yourself.
That's right.
And I think that's very important. Well, again, Esther, I want to thank you so much for participating. I know it's always difficult to talk about your loved one in prison. It's not 25, 26 years and it doesn't get easier, does it?
No, no.
Ever
It
gets easier.
won't be easy until they come home, and then you still get all those years to remember that they weren't there.
Yeah,
So,
and coming home has its own set of challenges, unique challenges. Although personally, I can't wait to conquer some of those.
yeah, me too. Let me see them.
Yes. Yeah, that'll be great. And I just want to say, as COVID continues to make glaringly obvious the tragic impact it has had and continues to have on people in prison, we'll continue to host conversations and provide resources on Restore Justice's website.
Mhm.
Viewers, I would ask you to go online to COVID-19 resources. They will be posted in the chat section. We encourage any of you who have loved ones in prison to visit our CRIC, that's Communities and Relatives of Illinois Incarcerated Children, outreach
Yep.
page, and to learn more about our group. We do meet via Zoom. Hopefully, we'll be meeting in person. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
I can't wait to meet in person. I missed you guys so much. Man, it feel like we've been on lockdown.
Exactly. We've all been on lockdown.
Yes. Yes, but I just appreciate you guys for the support that you give to us family members. I appreciate it. And I'm so glad I found you guys all those years ago, Julie.
We're
It's
so glad.
wonderful.
We're so
Look,
glad.
we've grown
to
up.
have you.
We've grown up since we've been in it.
Yeah, we have. We definitely have.
Yes, yes. But thank you for all that you do and all that Crick does. Thank you. Thank you so much for all that all of you guys do, because we as parents of incarcerated children, we needed support, and you guys were there. You guys were there.
Thank you
Thank
to
you.
everyone who's tuned in, and we'll see you next time.